Welcome to Leads and Leverage, Real Estate Team Leader Lounge, where success in real estate meets passion-driven leadership. I'm your host, Tyler Gibson. I'm an entrepreneur, real estate team leader, and investor, and I'm thrilled to have you join us in the ultimate hub for real estate excellence. In this exclusive lounge, we're diving deep into strategies, tactics, and stories that fuel the success of real estate teams. Whether you're a seasoned pro looking to take your leadership skills to new heights or an aspiring entrepreneur ready to build your own powerhouse team, this podcast is your go-to resource for insider insights and actionable advice. Get ready to hear from top experts, industry pioneers, and real-world achievers who are making waves in the real estate world. We'll explore the best practices, share invaluable lessons learned, and equip you with tools you need to thrive in today's competitive market. Welcome to the lounge where leaders are made and success is earned. Come on in to the Real Estate Team Leader Lounge.
Yeah, so full-time realtor, part-time investor. I own rentals in a couple different states. And so between the two, it keeps me busy.
Very cool. What states do you have your rentals in?
So I do have one here in LA. And then I have, with a business partner, we have one in Nashville, two in St. Louis. And then I have one in Birmingham, Alabama.
Okay, cool. Long-term or short-term?
All long-term.
All long-term. Cool.
Yeah, I only have so many hours in the day. So, and I've had clients do the Airbnb stuff, and it's a full-time job.
Yes, it is. It's you start a hotel business. Congratulations.
Right?
That's why I don't do it.
It's kind of like the stock market. You have to monitor it every day. And like any days that you have an empty day, you drop the price significantly just to get it filled. Like, I'm like, no.
I love that. All right. So I'm going to, what do you feel most comfortable talking about? Because this is about you. This shows, it's always about highlighting the guest. So any particular thing you feel like you'd like to talk about, or you feel strong, like I could talk about this?
Yeah. I mean, I could talk just about anything that you bring up. If you want, we could talk a little bit about like house hacking and maybe setting up those types of teams, right, for your clients. We could talk about investing out of state. If you want to talk more about agent stuff, maybe it's like, hey, look, one of my 5-year goals is to start a team. So what am I doing now to kind of develop that?
Oh, yeah, we could definitely talk about that. This is my target audience is actually agents to watch this show and to learn and to help them grow their businesses and to give them resources to, or ideas to continue to grow. I think we can also talk about the fact that you're not just an agent, but also an investor and why you might choose to do that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I find it shocking how many real estate agents don't invest in real estate.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's somewhat my mission to bring that message to real estate agents. Look, you have a license to insider trade in whatever state you have a real estate license in.
Right.
And you should be taking advantage of this huge opportunity to grow your wealth, develop passive income, and potentially get out of the rat race of transactional cycles in real estate, right? So awesome. Okay, here we go. Ready?
Ready when you are.
Awesome. Hello and welcome to another episode of Leads and Leverage. I'm so excited to have Rick Albert here with me today from Los Angeles, California. Thanks for being here, Rick.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. You're not the typical guest that we have, but we're veering from the path a little bit from time to time. Yesterday I got to talk with a gentleman that did commercial warehouse development for years. And so we're getting to hear lots of different perspectives. Introduce yourself to our audience. Tell us a little bit about you. I know that you're a real estate agent. You're also an investor. So tell us a little bit about you, your business, and we'll just take it from there.
Sure. So yes, I am a full-time real estate agent here in Los Angeles. I work for a boutique brokerage called America Real Estate. And a lot of my background actually comes from investing. So my first job straight out of college was buying properties at the courthouse steps. And then we would have to flip the properties. Then we started getting into new construction development. So I bring a lot of that background to my clients. And I was able to even use that because one of my big things is called house hacking. That's where you buy properties, you fix them up, rent by the room, rent out another unit. So I've done 2 house hacks here in Los Angeles, and I've been able to kind of leverage my way through. So I know or by the time we're filming this, but probably going into next year will be the first time since 2015 that I'll be buying property with my own money. Yeah, and I'm also a case study for the house hacking from BiggerPockets in the house hacking strategy. So I'm actually one of their case studies.
That's incredible. Talk to me a little bit about BiggerPockets. How long have you been on that particular platform?
Yeah, so I'm just just another member in the group. I don't necessarily work with them or anything, but it seems like I do a lot of shameless plugs with them. So for those who don't know, BiggerPockets is an mostly online platform. They're a big media company. They have books, podcasts, online forums, all geared towards real estate investing. It doesn't matter what category you want to get in. They tend to have a lot of resources, and I actually gain a lot of clients through it.
Yeah, that's actually a great point to talk about. As you know, a lot of folks that listen to this show are real estate agents. BiggerPockets.com is one of for me, it's been a great resource, if for nothing else than for education.
100%.
Getting to understand the investing side of real estate. And it's actually what took me down the path of focusing on working with investors and house hackers in my own real estate business, which I guess lots of agents don't like investors, but we love them.
You know, a lot of them are repeat clients. I mean, this year alone, I call my 3-peats. So my clients that I've done at least 3 transactions with. I did it for 2 of my clients this year. And I have another client where we're doing about a transaction a year, whether it's buying rentals or now we're getting into selling them.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome. And you're absolutely right. They're repeat buyers, right? I like to say it this way. Investors don't buy one house. They buy one a year. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So developing that side of an agent's business is really important. How did you do that? How did you develop that investor side of the business? I know you said your first job was at the courthouse steps. Was that as an agent, or were you working for somebody else's company?
Yeah, I was working for the developer. So yeah, fresh out of college, they're like, here's cashier's checks in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Let's go bid on property. I'm like freaking out, by the way, because they talk like a mile a minute. And like when I got my first one, I was like shaking, signing off on everything. But so in terms of getting clientele, a lot of it does stem from, especially on the investment side, or even just retail clients. They want to work with someone that's all in on real estate, right? So if I go in and they're like, well, there's my best friend that's a real estate agent. Okay, cool. But are they also investing? Do they know really what's going on? Or, hey, we're going to go into properties and that have been sitting on the market. We're going to negotiate really well because we do it time and time again on the investing side. But more importantly, we can see beyond the mess, is what I like to call it, right? How many times, Tyler, have you gone through a property and people are like, this is really funky? It's like, well, that's because there's this random wall here.
Yeah.
Right? It's like we can see past that dysfunctional floor plans, which gives my clients great deals.
Yeah.
And so a lot of clients want to work with people like that.
Yeah. When we're walking through properties, I tell my clients all the time, listen, you can change everything about a house except its location.
Right.
So if you like the location, there's a good chance we can make it fit whatever it is that you need it to be. It might take time. It might take money, but almost anything's possible. I love
right.
that.
Yeah, I agree.
So I know that you said that you have some properties yourself. What prompted you to get into becoming an investor as well?
Yeah, so there's a couple things. One, as you know, this job can really take a toll on someone, right? So the nights, the weekends, I have a 10-month-old. So it's like now we have to start thinking, okay, how do I maximize my time so I can be with my family? And that's kind of where real estate investing comes from. I'm not making a ton of money off my rentals. This is more of a long-term play, right? So I'm picking properties that I like in good locations. So I make a little bit of money. Basically, it pays for itself. But I know in the long run, I'm going to be in good shape. So that was really a lot of what it was for.
Yeah, I love that you've adopted that mentality that it's okay that I'm not making a ton of money on the rental because it is a long-term play. I mean,
Yeah.
all of the wealth is built in the equity in real estate, not in the cash flow. The cash flow is nice, but that's not where the real wealth is. It's in
Yeah.
that equity, and Father Time always wins, right?
So,
In so
yeah.
many different ways.
My favorite was my first house hack was a condo. I bought it in 2015. Everybody looked at me weird. Why are you buying? It's 2015. Oh, this condo's a dump. The lady had been living there for like over 30 years. She was a heavy smoker. I'm like, I'll be fine. I got this. Literally, I held on to it for 7 years and I almost doubled my money.
Yeah.
It's like, and now people are asking me for advice. I'm like, well, but you're right. I think with real estate, a lot of people are looking at this from an emotional standpoint, but they're like, why should I buy? Especially when right now, with the way rates are, in some cases, it's cheaper to rent.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, look, you make money 4 ways in real estate: cash flow, appreciation, loan buy down, and tax benefits. And you're guaranteed at least 2 of them.
Yeah.
Right. So, and so that's kind of why I'm doing it as well.
Gotcha. So where are you finding most of your clients and investors that you started to work with?
Yeah, so there's kind of 2 avenues. One is the sphere of influence. So it's friends, family who want to get into real estate investing, or they already like the idea of like, okay, I want to rent out another unit, right? They may not want to be full-time investors, but they just want something to help pay the bills. And then the other side actually happens to be BiggerPockets. I don't pay for any leads or anything like that. I just go in, I provide value. And that's like a really big part.
Yeah, walk me through how do you do that? Like somebody's listening and they're in Arizona, right?
Mm-hmm.
I go to biggerpockets.com. How do I start?
Sure. So I like to pick a couple categories. So for me, I look at you can actually search based off location for forum posts. So I do like Los Angeles County, for example. And I also go under house hacking. It's kind of my bread and butter. And I do go into buying and selling. And basically, if someone has a question, if I can provide value, right, that's a big thing. If I can actually provide the value, I will go ahead and comment. But I don't sell myself. And that's where a mistake a lot of agents make in those forums. Like, I love it when people are like, what's a good market to invest in? Here come all the real estate agents that say their market's best. I'm the one that goes in and says, look, you can make it work in any market. Here's some of the criteria that I look at.
I love that.
Yeah.
So, and you're saying that you're actually getting business just from providing this value and interacting on the forums?
Yeah. So from there, there's 2 things I do. One is if they are based in LA, I do send them a connection request. And I just say, hey, I thought it'd be good to connect with a fellow Angelino. I'm a 2-time house hacker, right? That's 1. I'm an out-of-state investor. That's 2, especially being in LA. A lot of people like that. Then I say I'm an agent. Like, the agent's like the last thing I mention.
Yeah.
Hey, if you ever want to talk, I'm happy to be here. And then some people take me up on it. So from there, or I've had people reach out. I actually have an escrow closing tomorrow. They reached out to me because they saw my responses in the forum post. They liked what I had to say.
Yeah. That's incredible. So I actually have done the exact same thing.
Right?
Yeah. When I started in real estate, I had been heavily involved on BiggerPockets prior to getting licensed.
Mm-hmm.
And I had just been really active in the forums. And now we use keyword alerts because there's actually a function in BiggerPockets where I can have it send me an email, a notification anytime somebody uses the word Orlando, which is where I'm at, Orlando, right? So I want to know, and you can actually set up for all the different cities that are around you and get those notifications. Similarly, we jump in, we add value directly there in the forum, and then send a direct message. Hey, saw your message. I answered it there. But if you ever need anything, I'm local. I'm an investor. I'm also a licensed agent. If you need a recommendation even if it's just for a great property manager, let me know. I'd be happy to chat. I usually include my link to my calendar. So if they want to schedule a time to talk, we can.
There you go.
But yeah, and you're right. people really appreciate the value. They like it when you are also an investor. Would you suggest that other agents also invest in real estate, or is it better to just focus on the sales side of things?
They are two different jobs, two different mindsets, right? But what I tell a lot of people with real estate investing is you just really need a really good spreadsheet, especially for those that aren't as analytical. It's like, have a really good spreadsheet and that does all the math for you. And so with that said, I do think more agents should get into real estate investing. And I'm not saying flipping, unless that's something you're excited about. But I just think it provides a different level of understanding in this business, because what people tend to forget is that buying a property is an investment, or even selling a property is, you're releasing an asset. And I think having that deep insight, especially if you're looking at a property and say, look, here's what investors are looking for. Like, I'm working on trying to get a listing here in LA, met her through BiggerPockets. And she's like, what do you think about selling my house just to an investor? I said, well, here, the problem is investors are going to pay less. Here's why. Mm-hmm. Right. So you're just providing a different level of insight. And also, if people are coming through your open house and they're thinking about buying a house, in Orlando as a rental, you have that insight. Hey, here's what the rents would be. Here's some things to consider. Here's ways to maximize the property to make the most money.
Yeah. No, I love that. What are you most excited about as we come into this new year of 2025?
I'm really excited about being forced to be creative.
Tell me more about that. What do you mean by that?
So many agents got their license in like 2020 and 2021. Now they're learning, crap, I actually have to work. Like, I actually have to do something. Yeah. But it goes back to, like, there's so much time that's spent. When people are like, well, you're getting paid tens of thousands of dollars per transaction, where's all this money go? For me, it seems like the biggest money spent is in client acquisition, which isn't really fair to the buyer or seller. It's like, well, that's not my problem. That's how you get in business. So it's like, okay, how do we obtain the right client for you? And how do we get creative in that sense, right? This is no more, people are not knocking on your door anymore. You have to start knocking on their door. If you want to do it physically, I'm not a big door knocker myself. But it's like, okay, I've done postcards in the past, hasn't worked for me, but this time around, I'm doing a specific demographic. I'm doing a specific message, right? I'm not just farming a neighborhood. I'm looking at non-owner occupieds, so single family homes, right? So for me, it's like, if they decide to list with me, it's going to be vacant and it's a single family home. Yeah. They should sell faster. It'll be easier to sell. It's just starting to think more about, how do I maximize my time? Do I hire someone to do an open house? Do I do shorter open houses? How do we run this business to be much more efficient? Yeah.
What kind of plans do you have next year to create more leverage, right? Because as solo agents, time is typically our biggest constraint in trying to do all the things that we want to do. So do you have any plans or ideas on how you might create more leverage for yourself and more time as we move into this new year?
Yeah, so there's a couple things that we've been working on. One is you actually can have an unlicensed person host an open house. So they can't obviously negotiate deals, they can't talk, anything like that, but we pay them a couple $100 to host an open house for us, which means I get 100% of the leads, right? It's not going to another agent to refer it out. Yeah. So, and then my seller's like, great, I have someone hosting every weekend or, hosting more often. So I usually do the first weekend of open houses. I might even do the first couple weekends just to really, bring it in. So we are leveraging people in that sense. I've been really focusing on our SOPs, right? Standard operating procedures. And we have a virtual assistant. So we've been working with the virtual assistant on that, doing a lot of that training. Basically look at all the tasks that you either don't like doing or just isn't a good use of your time. Yeah. Right? Me posting an image on Instagram with a caption isn't worth my time. I send the caption details to my assistant. She posted it.
Yeah. I think I heard you say that you have a virtual assistant.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about working with virtual assistants. How long have you had a virtual assistant? Did somebody suggest it to you? Was it just a wild hair idea that you had? Like, how did that come about?
Yeah, I mean, they become more popular. Typically, the cost is lower. So I'm actually working with a company that outsources to different assistants, which was kind of nice because then I can say, hey, here's what I want. And they kind of paired me up. And it's mostly activities, obviously, they don't do in person, right? So they're not going to, so at some point, you're going to get big enough, right? The goal is to actually have an in-house assistant. Because that's really what we eventually need. We need someone to go do inspections, meet the appraisers, all of that. But in the meantime, they can do a lot of the back-end paperwork, sorting through files, making sure signatures are signed, posting on social media. She does a lot of that content. And now I'm really working with her on setting up the best practices for follow-ups during the transaction. I need somebody else following up with the loan officers saying, hey, has this done? So we're doing a lot of leverage with that. And then also making phone calls to find off-market properties. So I basically put together a list of agents in an area and say, can you please cold call them? Hey, we have this great listing coming up, or hey, we have a buyer looking. And then they can connect me with that agent if they happen to have something. And it's just an added value to our clients.
Gotcha. How has that been working out? Because I get those calls from time to time, and I get text message, hey, do you have any off-market properties I can take a look at? And I usually just reply stop to the text messages. How does that work? Or how has that worked?
The calls have been okay. I have other best practices. So like I have a long list. Like we do send out emails to agents in a specific area. The big thing is most of those text messages that I've gotten that you're referring to are generally from investors.
Yeah. And
a lot of them are, some are great. Some are like, for lack of a better term, some of them, I call them bottom feeders. Right? Because like, I don't know about you, but like here, almost every fixer I've sold, I've actually been able to sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars more on the open market than to an investor. Sure. Right. So it's like, it's hard for me to like give them a deal, so to speak. But in terms of finding stuff, it's, it's not as easy as it used to be, right? Because the National Association of Realtors passed a law saying you can't really have pocket listings. Right. But the calls are something new that we've been trying.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, I'd be curious to. We'll stay in touch. I'd be curious to see how that works out. Maybe you can give me some pointers on it.
It could also be aged listings. I've had some agents say, "Well, it's not off market, but I have this. Send it my way. I'll take a look. Maybe it's just overpriced, and they just need someone to help the seller set expectations." Yeah,
have somebody else say, "No, it's too expensive."
Exactly.
There's an agent here in my market. He's a luxury agent. And whenever he runs into that, where he believes that it might be priced too high and he's getting pushback from the seller, he hosts a broker open and he has 5 or 6, he tries to get as many agents as he possibly can to come through. And he makes all of them, as best he can, answer a survey. And he specifically asks about price. What do you think about the price? Because that way, when you get 8 different agents that come through and fill out a survey that says your house is overpriced, he could take it back to the seller. And I'm not the bad guy. Look, I had 8 other professionals come through, and here's the feedback they had about their home. They said it was staged great, and blah, blah, but it's just too expensive. And I think that's really valuable for homeowners when you can give them that kind of real feedback.
And I think that's way more. It was funny. It was like a Facebook group of agents, and this exact thing came up. And people are like, "No, you should just do an appraisal." I'm like, "No, what you just mentioned is way more valuable because they're the ones talking directly to the client. They're the ones who are going to tell their client it's overpriced, not the appraiser." Yeah. So no, I agree with you. I think that's a phenomenal way to help set expectations.
Well, and while I'm sure we all love appraisers, and they always get it right.
Always
get it right. So
I've had be hundreds of thousands dollars off, like 2 appraisers, same house, hundreds of thousands. I've had another one millions of dollars off.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's not a perfect science. There's
No,
still some human element involved
I agree.
in that process. Well, Rick, I want to be respectful of your time. We've been talking for a few minutes now. What would, if you were going to give an agent that's only focused on retail a tip, what kind of thoughts or suggestions would you share with them?
Yeah, so I think there's two things. One, you need to come from a place of adding value. I think that a lot of agents come from a place of sales, and that's all they care about. Versus, hey, let's do an equity review of your property. So I'm not saying you should sell, but let's take a look at what the home values are, right? Just to help you. So come from a place of value, not from sales. And I really think going forward, niches of niches are going to do really well. That's going to be my guess. There used to be, I specialize in first-time home buyers. I'm like, I think that's too broad now. It's like first-time home buyers, maybe in a certain price point, or, hey, I'm into luxury market. Okay, but maybe luxury market on the lakefront.
Yeah.
Maybe something like that might do, really well going forward. And then you're also going to attract that clientele. Most of my business this year has been sphere of influence.
Sure.
So those are probably the two big things.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. If people want to learn more about you or about house hacking or about Los Angeles, although I'm sure that's not maybe the thing, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Absolutely. So I'm pretty active on Instagram at Rick B. Albert. I'm also on YouTube. So basically the major social media platforms. That's probably the best way. And I respond to all my direct messages, all of that. Those are probably the best way to get a hold of me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing with us what you're doing out there in California and how you've started to build a portfolio, not just sales, but ownership in real estate.
That's right.
Agents. I love that. I'm a big proponent of it myself. So thanks again. And thank you to everyone that tuned in to watch this episode of Leads and Leverage. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Well, thanks, Rick. That was great.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Awesome.
How long have you been licensed?
2010.
Oh, okay. So did you get the license when you went to work for the developer? So they're like, you have to get a license?
So the brokerage I work with is affiliated with the developer.
Got it.
When I was December of 2009, a good friend of mine, I went to come down to Southern California to visit my friend. He's like, hey, why don't you meet my dad? He's been in real estate for a long time. And so when I spoke to him, and he kind of, not directly, but basically I got the real estate bug, so to speak. And I asked him to basically be my mentor. And he said, to do this, you have to do A, B, C, D. So I literally jumped on it, read the books he recommended, got an internship in college. Apparently I found out I'm like the only person in his entire life where he's asked people to do something that actually did it, right? I'm like nobody wants to put the work in. And then I was studying for my license. And then, we started realizing that we could do better than most of the agents we were working with. And then that's how kind of we got started.
Gotcha. When did you transition into doing more sales?
Good question. 2012, 2013.
Gotcha.
Picking up clients here and there. And then it was always kind of, because it was pre-inflation, all that. Like you can make a decent living for a while. And LA is also higher price points, which makes it a little bit easier. Right. Like I live in one neighborhood, but I might sell in another.
Right.
And then really started trying to kick it off. Funny enough, it happened to be 2020, even before like everything happened.
Yeah.
But, I did it for a few years. I was making okay money, but I was like, no, I kind of want to do more.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, if there's ever anything I can do to help you, please don't
likewise.
hesitate. I got licensed October 2019, but I bought my first rental 10 years ago. So,
nice. In Orlando?
Yeah. So my first rental was a little 2-1 bungalow here in the downtown Orlando area. It's more than doubled in value since I bought it, right? Because time is your best friend.
Right.
And, but now we have a beach condo that my wife does short-term rentals out of. Notice I said my wife does short-term rentals.
Right.
The
The numbers, at least for us, the numbers haven't worked. You
Well,
basically is the same as if you did long term because you have all the extra
yeah,
expenses.
ours actually just pays for itself, but we use it because it's here on the
That's
Florida
really where the
coast.
value is.
So
Hmm.
we bought it for us. I told my wife, I'll buy you anything you want as long as I don't have to pay for it. So
Have you seen the slingshots? It's like a little 3-wheeler.
yeah, I've seen them.
I'm looking into buying one, but my wife's like, "You should buy it. You work hard." I'm only going to buy it if I can rent it out
Yeah,
to help pay for itself.
like on Turo or something. I think you have to have a
Exactly.
motorcycle license for
You
it.
don't.
No, are you able to
That's what
drive
makes it
a
so
motorcycle?
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't need a motorcycle license, but it's classified as a motorcycle, so you get the cheaper insurance.
Yeah. Oh, very cool. Yeah, I
Yeah,
didn't know that. I didn't know about the classification and the licensing difference. So that's kind of
yeah.
cool. You get to
So,
dip into both.
yeah, so it's on my bucket list to get one, especially being in Southern California. It's like if I want to rent it on Turo, yeah, take it, go to Malibu, whatever. Not right now, so
That's
it's a little
awesome.
bit on fire right now, but
What?
you know,
Yeah. What's your sales goal for 25? Have you set those yet? Did you meet your
um,
sales goal for 24? I should say.
yeah, actually, crap, I did work on it. I think the goal is to do about 18 million in sales,
What is the average sale price there?
about 900.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I tend to do a lot of condos, and so that's what brings my average down.
Gotcha.
Um, now with this whole commission thing, I think we're actually going to make more money because like I did a deal this year at like 1.5% commission,
Yeah.
and which was great for my buyer because they were trying to negotiate the price. My client's like, should I go up in price? I'm like, no, they're paying crap commission. No one's going to show it. Sure enough, it's sat, it's sat, it's sat. Um, but so I think with our commissions actually going up,
Yeah.
going into next year. Like I've been putting 3% in my offers and then negotiating down to 2.5. So like, look, we're all making concessions here. Rather than originally, I'd have to settle for 2. So yeah, I think that the goal is basically to get to be around 300,000 in GCI.
Good for you.
Yeah, this year I'll be at about unless I can get my listing sold this year, about 236,000, which is a hair less than last year, but I'm giving myself grace considering I had a baby this year.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Congratulations, by the way.
thank you.
I
Thank
have
you.
a 5-year-old little girl, so she's why I do what I do.
Nice. How do you manage your time?
Well, so I have a team now. So
Okay.
I delegate a lot of, I pass off a lot of sales. I took a pay cut as a result,
I've heard that.
but that was what I wanted to do because I wanted to prioritize my time. So a lot of times I get to drop my daughter off at school at 7:45 in the morning, but then I get to pick her up at 3, and I get to be home with her. And anytime there's an event at school, I'm there. And
Yeah.
that was my motivation. That was why I decided to get the real estate license, and because previously I was in corporate America.
Mm.
So, but I just didn't want to trade my time for freedom anymore.
How much of, if I may ask, like how much of a cut? Because I've heard that from multiple people. Like, was it a major cut?
It wasn't a major cut because I was able to do more volume. So,
Right.
I mean, the trick with running a team is that you're basically going to split the commission with somebody else.
Right.
But the benefit of doing that is that, yeah, I make less, but now instead of having to spend the 12 hours that it's going to take me to get that transaction all the way to fruition,
Mm-hmm.
I can just be focused on getting the next opportunity lined up with those 12 hours, right? I'm still going to make 50% of the commission made because
Mm-hmm.
I generated the business and I gave it to somebody on my team to go work. But, I also, I'm at EXP Realty, so I get stock when I sell and when my agents
Mm-hmm.
sell, and I get revenue share. So like even the commission that they have to pay to the broker, I get a portion of that. The way the
Interesting.
revenue share works at EXP. 50% of every company dollar gets paid back to the agents at EXP. So if EXP makes $1 million, $500,000 is going to be paid back to the agents through the revenue share program. So
Got it.
I took a little bit of a pay cut to start my team, but it really allowed me to expand, right? Because I think I did the year that I started the team, I did 18 sales
Okay.
for about 10 million. And I was a part-time agent for 10 of those 12 months. So I still had my corporate job, and that was in 2021.
Okay.
But I jumped out, and then the next year we did almost 40 sales, I think, in 22.
Wow.
48 last year, and 50 last year, and this year we're going to be about 54 before the year ends.
Wow.
So we've continued to have growth even in these slower seasons.
Right. No, that's amazing.
And part of that is, well, and the benefit of bringing on agents to a team, the other benefit is they know a lot more people that I don't. They've got friends and family that I don't. And
right.
If I can teach them properly how to work their sphere of influence, then they're going to bring those transactions to the business.
Sure.
I will help them with my expertise and knowledge, and then we'll both make some money, right?
Yeah.
And so they actually generate additional business for my sales business. So while I am still the rainmaker, I don't generate all of the sales that we do. Some of my team members are generating sales on their own. But there's a lot of things they don't have to do.
Yeah, I think that's where we're heading, because it used to be you can either go the team route or they call it like the artisan agent. And the original intention was to be the artisan agent. I'm like, I don't really want a full team. I just want maybe a couple staff members. But then it's just gotten to the point. It's like, I'm not in that ultra luxury market where you can be the artisan agent. I'm not that, $10 million agent for those listings. I'm not in Beverly Hills. I've sold in Beverly Hills. Don't get me wrong, but it's just like, I'm just not in that world.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's like,
investor world.
Right. Investor world, even just the retail world. I mean, I have to take a look at, I'm at about 50-50 with listings and buys. I'm trying to become more listing heavy. That's the goal. Because I think a lot of the time wasted, I didn't necessarily want to say this on the podcast, but a lot of time wasted is actually on the buy side.
Which is the other reason to get agents on your team. Because I'm like,
right.
Hey, I've got a buyer for you. Have fun.
Yeah, but we've also gotten much better at getting them to closing faster. Yeah. And now with the buyer broker agreements, it's only good for 3 months. So it's like, look, I got 3 months to find this guy something.
Oh, see, that must be a California thing, because
it is.
Florida, we get to set our own time frame.
Yeah, it was weird. It says you can set it, and then I used to set it for like a year because I knew some of these people were like more like drip. But then my broker's like, no, there's this clause here that says max of 3 months. You can always renew it. But so it's like, okay, look, this is my motivation to set expectations, be very direct as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And like the one that I mentioned on the show where they found me through BiggerPockets, I spoke to them on a Saturday, got them to sign the buyer broker agreement on Sunday, and like a few weeks later, we were in escrow.
Yeah. I actually do pay for leads through BiggerPockets.
How do you like it? They keep trying. It's so expensive, at least here.
I've done it since 2020.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I was the original featured agent in Orlando when it was a beta program, and it was $800 a month. And all they did was run banner ads around the site.
Oh, okay.
It's changed. The program has changed a lot since it was originally launched. But we closed 22 transactions this year through BiggerPockets leads.
Wow. Yeah, because here it's like, when I last spoke to them, it was like $250 a lead.
It's much more expensive there than it is here. It's $64 a lead, but it's dependent upon market. But
right.
I got a 6x return on my money.
Yeah.
I'll just tell you that. We spent about $22,000. When I did the calculation in the end of September, we had spent about $22,000 on BiggerPockets leads, and we had closed 22 of them for about 100. No, right? Yeah, like a little over $150,000 in GCI. So
Oh, okay.
we got a great return on our money,
Sure.
considering what the cost was. And so, yeah, we continue to do it. We're all the time. I also set up an automation because the way they deliver the leads is they just pop them into your email inbox.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got to call them
Right.
or do whatever you're going to do. So I actually built a whole automated process with Zapier and some other tools where the lead comes in and we automatically route it through automation and start emailing and texting them right away.
Okay.
We just email them and say, hey, I saw that you reached out. Here's a link to my calendar. Schedule a time for us to chat. And then we text them basically the same thing. And then if they don't click on I have the links that we send set up as triggers. So if they don't click on the links, it'll keep texting them. And it'll keep saying, hey, do you still want to connect? Hey, have you given up on investing? And, I set them up on a 2-year text strip. But if they respond, then it'll stop.
Sure.
And I can engage with them. But we convert half of the leads that we get. We convert to in-person appointment, or not in-person, but phone appointments or Zoom appointments without ever having to pick up the phone and dial.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And our conversion ratio, like, we close 1 out of 25 leads in a 90-day period typically.
Okay. And then the one closing would pay for itself.
The one closing pays for the whole bundle plus some, and then we just continue to work the bundle. And I see a lot of value in the database we've built. We've built a database of over 1,500 investors through BiggerPockets now.
Oh, wow.
And so now it gives me an opportunity to go back to them and say, hey, I found this deal. Are you interested? Or, hey, I've got this deal I'm going to do. Would you want to partner with me on it? And so there's lots of different ways that we can monetize it. I also host a local real estate investor meetup where we get together once a month and talk about investing in real estate. And so I get to invite people to that. And so there's just lots of different ways that we've leveraged it to focus on the investor niche and to grow that side of our business.
Nice. I actually started a Facebook group for real estate investors. But it's SoCal landlords. We're at about 1,400 members. I've been struggling in terms of getting actual conversion on it, but at the very least, I'm getting tons of insight on what's going on with a lot of the struggles and all that. And I've actually had news companies reach out to interview me because hey, we see you manage this. What are landlords? What are they going through?
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Well, hey, I've got another meeting. I got to jump over.
No worries.
It's a pleasure chatting with you, Rick.
Yeah. Likewise.
If there's ever anything I can do for you, please let me know.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Likewise.
Have you ever looked at the EXP model out of curiosity?
I have a while ago. I know a lot of agents with EXP.
Sure.
Here in LA, they're not as big. They're around, at least on the top producing end. There aren't as many out here.
I find that hard to believe because some of the biggest teams in all of EXP are in California. Maybe they're just not in LA.
Maybe there's not in LA.
Because Kenny Fast.
Danny Fast.
Kenny Fast.
Oh, Kenny Fast.
Yeah, Team Fast is the name of their team. I think they're in LA.
No, Bay Area.
Oh, there you go.
Oh no, that's Kenny Trong. Where's Kenny Fast? Oh yeah, Kenny Trong. Yeah, he's in the Bay Area. Yeah, there's one actually I've worked with, Porchlight Properties with EXP. Gotcha. That's Danny Burgess. I actually had him sell a property for me up in the Bay Area, and then in Birmingham, my agent's actually with EXP.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I found I got a ton of value from coming over here a few years ago, and now I've got about $30,000 in stock, which is nice.
Nice. Yeah, I'll probably dig into it in a little bit. My goal is, because my pay structure is kind of unique with where I am, and they cover a lot of the marketing. So it's okay, let me experiment more with marketing on their dime, see what works and doesn't work, and then I can go from there.
Well, I'd be happy to sit down sometime and just look at what is your cost of doing business at wherever you're at, and what they offer you, and then we could look at what the cost of doing business here is, and see if it's something that.
Yeah, I'll keep you posted.
All right.
Never hurts.
The team will let you know when this starts to come out. And,
okay.
I look forward to talking to you more.
Sounds good. Likewise. Thank you. Bye.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of Leads and Leverage. I hope you found our conversation insightful and actionable. Remember, success in real estate is not just about transactions. It's about the relationships you build, the teams you lead, and the impact you make in the lives of others. If you enjoyed today's episode and want to stay connected with our community of real estate leaders and entrepreneurs, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave us a review. Your feedback helps us bring you more valuable content and guests. Don't forget to visit our website, gpghome.com/leads and leverage for additional resources, show notes, and exclusive updates. You can also follow me on Instagram at real_Tyler Gibson to join the conversation and connect with like-minded individuals. See you next week.